In this video series, we're going to make this cardinal.
Hey, here I am back in the past. So that thing you just saw that I did, I'm now going to do it so we can learn together. That's a cardinal, duh. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut this to length. And the reason I'm using this piece, this size, is because the customer that I'm making this for has a tree, yay big, and the place where the cardinal will go is this size. So I'm gonna practice here. I made my templates, I got everything ready to go, including the spider webs all over my head, and I'm gonna make one. Now I'll still sell it to somebody else. You can have it if you wanna buy it, but I'm doing it so that when I'm up on a scaffold with a tree that's only yay big, I do it correctly. It would be a bad idea to try to do the thing I'm paid to do the first time I do it. Now, I can't actually practice in that exact setting, but I can take the exact size and be prepared so that I can perform with excellence when I get there. So here we go. First thing, trim this thing up. Check for bugs. Never know who might be living in here, even though I keep them snapped in that box. I still like to check. Creepy crawlies live here. This is their house. Now this saw, once I feel it full, there's 1, 2, 3. The first couple of punches didn't count because there really wasn't much moving. And on mine, I have to pull down and out in order to get the choke open. And pull till it pops. And then push the choke in and it should start. There we go. Now if you noticed my indecision there, what I was trying to determine is, since the log starts to curve right here and go this way, but I need enough material to have it trapped in the jaw of the jaw horse and proceed up high enough to get the cardinal in it, that I decided to leave some of that crooked material there at the bottom so I could get this in there as straight as possible. I think that looks about right. And it's interesting. I thought this was a piece of red maple. Red oak, but I didn't look at it closely. It was just in my wood pile where mostly it is red oak. But now that I see it, it's very spalted. So this might be an interesting shape for the cardinal. Now let's get a close up here. Okay, here's the spalting, and I really don't know what kind of wood this is. It was in my red oak pile, but it doesn't look like red oak. And I'm guessing from the bark that it might be dogwood. Could be some kind of fruit tree, maybe cherry, but the spalting makes me think maple, so now I'm really confused. But there it is, it's very pretty, and we'll see what kind of cardinal that makes. Now, here are all the templates that I cut out. One of them is like the Louisville Cardinal, and he's just cute and cartoony and has nice, even, easy to follow lines that help me visually realize what I'm doing. The tree is so skinny that I'm going to do this position. See how the claws, one's up high and one's down low, and how he's positioned so that we're only working with, about 2.5 inches across this way, and he's probably about 3 inches deep the other direction, and 8.5 to 9 inches this way. And that's a normal size for a cardinal, and this is a male, and he will fit in that branch okay. So then I found this free template that gives the top of the head looking straight down. Wow, hear that pretty bird? You're really loud. And this gives the feather pattern in the tail, and this is a close-up of a way that you can bring the wings together with the tail, and then this is a side view. And the way I have it trimmed, it almost looks like a partridge. So I got to be careful with that to make sure I don't end up with a partridge and I end up with a cardinal. Of course, in the end, I'll paint him all red and then paint in the black mask around the beak. Now, here's another one. I printed out really big so that I could see it. Actually, it was an accident. I didn't mean to make it bigger than I intend to carve, but once I had it printed out and taped together, then I realized it was too big. I was like, well, this will be cool from a distance to use it as a reference collage. So that's the purpose of it being here, is so that I can just flip my mask up and come over here and look and go, let's see, how exactly does that look? So I'll have the little pieces to trace onto the sculpture, and then I'll have this big one to look at for reference. One more thing about the end of this, you see how thick the bark is all the way around? So I'm going to start in here a little bit with a chisel and see how easily that comes off, and if it doesn't, then I'm going to use the chainsaw and shave it off. All right, I keep this dull chisel handy and a mallet for this kind of thing, because I don't want to use my nice sharp chisels and get them all beat up, but it also helps that it's dull so that it doesn't dig hard into the wood. I just want it to dig into the bark, and sometimes if the chisel's really sharp, it catches. I started doing this with a sharp chisel and decided, I don't think I want to do that anymore. There we go. Okay, there's an opening. It's always a toss-up for me whether or not to use the chainsaw or the chisel, about which is faster. And I think it ends up being about the same. But the advantage of using the chisel is that I don't disturb my neighbors. I don't think I'm disturbing them anyway, but you know, it's early in the morning. I think it's about 7:30, and I don't know when all of my neighbors sleep, so I'll do something quieter to try to be a better neighbor. And since it takes about the same amount of time anyway, I don't burn fuel, I don't burn oil, and I get a better feel for the size that I'm working with. Yay! Well, that was fun. I had to stop and take a picture of that birdie eating breakfast. The next move, now that I've got all the bark off of there, is to take this template here, and I realize it's kind of like the front, sort of, and the beak is the wrong direction, but it will give me a good general outline to block it out from one direction, and it will fit up and down like this on my sculpture. So I'm going to start with this one. So what I did next is I laid the Cardinal up on here, and I used this one. I already told you that. So what I did was I left this branch here. He needs something to stand on, and in order for the sculpture to withstand the wind and so on, I want to leave enough meat here of the branch, and so it's going to be kind of thick that he's standing on, and hopefully it will stick out. I'll have enough wood for it to stick out over here past Mr. Cardinal, and it'll come down here like so, and it'll look like a branch that's bent over like this, and then the rest of the tree will be here, and I'll cut it down at an angle so that it has at least the appearance that the Cardinal is on a tree branch and hasn't been carved out of a tree. So the bush line, when my customer gets everything trimmed, the bush line is going to be about right here, and that's probably where she'll keep the hedge trimmed, and so that will really give it that appearance that this branch is sticking up and the bird is sitting in the branch. So now I'm going to cut through this way and get some of this out of there. I'll remove all of this in here last, I think, as I'm learning here, because I don't want to have that kind of force, the type of force needed to carve the rest of the bird applied without that piece right there. So I think I'm going to come in and gently clean that out at the end, and it'll be much thinner at the end too, this way. So let's get the saw out and start trimming some of this off. Now we get all the rest of these templates, and I try to talk over that bird. That one, this one is very much the same. I'm not sure exactly what it's for, but it came from that free template set I found. There's the head, and then here's the other side. Now I drew in the bottom of the tail feathers here to just get a feel with this for how wide it's going to be, and then right here where the body is going to start coming in to meet the tail. And then I came straight up from the tail, because this bird is going to be looking this way. So we've got its head there and its tail here. So there you get a feel. There's the tail, there's the top of the head. So then it makes a little more sense. I can come over here and show you how the head position is going to be like this, and then the body position is going to be more like this, so that the tail, I got room for all of the tail, because if he's not standing up really erect, he's not going to fit in there. So the next carving I can do is I can trim out the top of the head. I can come back here, trim in to the tail here, take out that, scoop out that piece. But no, I can't, because this is the branch. See, the branch is coming up here, going under the bird and coming out the other side. So I can't take out any of this material. All I can do from back here now is shape out the head and then come over here and shape in the chest. Three things. I can trim around the head, trim into the chest, and then I can make a scoop in here. This is where the scoop is. Because this is the front of the bird. The tail is back here. So I got, let's see, I got tail and branch running this way. And then over here, in front of the branch, see, this will be the branch going through and he's sitting on it. So I can scoop here. Branch comes up, branch goes that way. Yeah, I can scoop here. So there's three cuts. I got a scoop here. I've got a wedge here, being careful around the beak. And then I can kind of trim down and around there. I'm a little scared here that it's not going to be all right, but hang on to the end and we'll find out together. So I think my first fear here was that I had cut off the crop. I started rounding the back of the head and then I realized, it's a cardinal. It's not a robin. The back of the head can't be rounded like this. So I left lots more room for the beak so I can come down here for the beak and I can still get, I don't know if it's called a crop or not, that where the feathers come up to a point. I think the crop is the thing under the neck, but where the feathers come up to a point here to a crown, let's call it a crown, I got room. So I'm okay there. Whew. And at the very end, I just shaved all the fuzz off, just lightly ran the saw up all around it to get rid of most of the marker and a lot of the fuzz, because now I want to sit down with a pencil and draw in the branch, actually the feet, draw in where the face is, just draw all over it until I'm comfortable. So after this drawing, and I abandoned the pencil because I couldn't see it, had to go back to the marker. This is wonderful. Thank you, Lord. I didn't mess it up. There's plenty of room here for me to cut this off and still leave the crown. The beak line here is still pretty good. I need to define a shoulder right here just a little bit. Define the front of this wing just a little bit. Then I can come down, and since the chest of the bird should be out over the limb, then I can clean the front down here and define the front of the chest, being really careful not to cut away where the feet will be, and leave the branch, because the branch can run and brush up against the front of the bird all the way across. and the feet still grip. I've been looking at pictures, and that's entirely possible, and all of that can stay connected. And then again, at the very end, I'll come through and take out some of this to define this as branch, and then to define this as tail. Now, moving around to the tail. So, I'm wondering if maybe I got him too thin here, and I might have. But to compensate and to make it work, I drew in an angle, a curve here rather, and so I'm going to smooth this out into a curve, make the curve match over here, and then start the descending part of the tail feathers right here. And so, you know, if they're too long, that's okay. I just don't have to bring them clear down to here like I did in the drawing. And I think it's still going to work. It's still going to be okay. So when I turn the saw back on, I'm going to thin this out here and smooth it straight. I'm going to make a little more definition here so that it's clear that this is the beginning of the tail feathers. Then, second series of cuts, I'm going to cut here to leave enough crown, and then up here at the back to kind of shape a little bit of the head. And then my hands are steady enough, I'm going to round out the front of the chest just a little bit right here, being really careful not to get into the feet. Touch and define the front of the wing here, the shoulder. There's so little material to work with that I'm concerned about using the chainsaw with it, but that's the whole purpose of learning to be a chainsaw artist is, you know, use that chainsaw as much as you can. And then I still am putting in details with other tools because the chainsaw is just too big. But let's get this as far as I can get it with the chainsaw. This might be the last shaping session with the chainsaw, and I may go to the Dremel after this. I've drawn in Mr. Cardinal again, and you can see here I've moved his branch down here, so all of this material needs to go away. I detailed in his head right here, so I'm going to take out a little bit more on both sides here, but leave it pointy in the back. Take out a little bit more here and here to start to form the beak. I realized from looking at lots more pictures that the shoulders of the Cardinal actually come up and meet the head. There's no neck. It's just a little ball with a beak sitting on top of a bigger ball. So no shoulders, and that's very helpful. Then I'll round it out. I'm going to take out a little bit more material in here when I take out this, and just kind of feel it as I go. go. This is my cardinal so far, and I'm pretty pleased. You can see here the branch coming up, and it's kind of broken, and it's got another branch coming this way. His little feet are on the branch, and here's some definition for his tail all the way around under and this side. And I try to have a broken little piece of branch here, and that's as far as I'm going to go on the chainsaw. Next, I'm going to get out the Dremel and put his beak and his eyes and his crown, carve in his tiny little feet. Try to get some, get some detail here that makes this look like a branch. This looks like a branch. This looks like a broken place. And then, of course, when I'm painting it, that will really become obvious, because this will be brown, this will be brown, this will be red, red, a little bit of black mask here, red beak, red crown, and it'll be quite obvious that, you know, this in-between piece here that's holding it together is just sculpture, and that this is the branch, this is the bird. Pretty happy with it. Hope you like it so far.